Hey there, dear friends. You know, the strategy genre, unlike all those shooters or RPGs, rarely surprises us with something truly new and interesting. But sometimes, though rare, it happens. And it looks like a new golden age of strategy games is approaching. Today, I'm going to show you 20 games in this genre that are about to blow up the gaming world. Don't forget to subscribe if you're here for the first time. Well then, let's go. Back in '99, Corsairs was released, published by Microids, and now, 25 years later, that same company reminded the gaming community about the franchise by showing a teaser for Corsairs Battle of the Caribbean. The game takes us back to the golden age of sails and gunpowder, where the main goal is to build a powerful fleet and, under the flag of your chosen nation, fight for dominance in the Caribbean. We become a privateer, an official pirate serving France, Denmark, Spain, Britain, or the Netherlands. You'll need to gather up to 12 ships of different classes, smartly manage supply lines and trade routes, choose ammunition for each battle, and expand your holdings. The economic side is just as important as combat. Trade, port defense, and city development directly impact your fleet's strength and expansion capabilities. The new campaign should offer 5 storylines, and the boarding mode should become way deeper than before. Well, in that game that came out 26 years ago, the captain now personally takes part in battles, and 3 types of soldiers, defender, gunner, and all-rounder, let you flexibly build assault tactics, quests, treasure hunts, island exploration. Basically, there should be quite a lot of content here. And as a fan of the original, I'm incredibly excited for the new game. Ever seen the movie or series Snowpiercer about a train racing through a frozen world? Well, now there's going to be a game like that too, Frostliner. It puts you in the commander's seat of a moving city on rails. The entire gameplay revolves around a train refuge that we gradually turn into a full-fledged city. We build wagons at our own factory, place residential modules, workshops, and warehouses in them, watch for building adjacency bonuses, and upgrade technologies. The longer and better organized our train is, the more resistant it is to cold and threats. At each stop, and yeah, it stops, you have to quickly decide whether to take new survivors and resources on board, spend time refueling and restocking supplies, or bolt before you lose precious heat and the lives of those already inside. Stopping here shuts down main heating. Backup batteries become the only protection from the instant freeze outside. The journey across the frozen earth isn't just logistics, but constant choice between risk and caring for people. There's fellow travelers with useful skills, distributing space and resources in the cars, equipping the train with weapons and defenses, or maybe even betting on speed and maneuverability. As the story unfolds, we'll discover tales of settlements, dangerous route branches, and the key to the shelter this whole journey is heading toward. Basically, it's a city-building puzzle and a harsh survival story where every decision on the road affects your chances of making it to the next station, and ultimately the fate of those you're carrying. All will fall. Another brutal survival strategy where our only chance to build a new home is a tiny patch of land in the middle of an endless ocean. We start with literally a rusty ship, and step by step build a vertical city that must withstand storms and grow upward to save more and more people. The game's main feature is physical system building. Each building relies on real structural calculations. Any tower, bridge, or staircase can collapse if you don't think through the construction. But it's risky projects that open paths to rare resources or save space, and failed decisions can be fixed in early stages while the city isn't too big yet. Survival, by the way, isn't limited to construction here. We manage a colony with different factions: engineers, sailors, and workers, each with their own skills and ambitions. You need to feed people, decide whether to impose martial law during riots, whether to punish disobedience or allow freedom of speech. The world doesn't forgive weakness. Storms, political coups, mysterious objects emerging from the ocean, and of course hunger will test your city's strength. Looks very promising. Also on the way is Beyond Astra, and it looks very curious. Here we start with a small colony on a distant planet, develop the city, set up mining and technologies, and then step by step go into space, establish colonies on other worlds, build trade routes, and even megastructures like a Dyson swarm. All this happens without loading screens. Imagine you can literally switch with one mouse movement from city streets to viewing the entire galaxy and manage economy, politics, and research on the scale of star systems. But this game isn't just about peaceful construction. There are real-time battles both on planets and in space, where we'll design our own ships, pick weapons and armor, and if we want, we can even crush opponents not with guns, but with espionage and economic sabotage. Each planet here has its own resources, climate, and wild fauna, so exploration is a separate adventure. Looks like it'll be that perfect 4X, where you can simultaneously build cities, play diplomatic games, and participate in massive space battles, feeling like the whole galaxy is truly alive. Crown of Greed should carefully revive the spirit of classic RTS games while also breaking the genre's main template. Heroes here can't be moved around the map like pawns. These mercenaries choose what to do themselves: scouting, monster hunting, or resting in a tavern. Basically, almost like RimWorld. To push them toward the right goal, you have to assign rewards for contracts. You set a price for destroying a wolf den or a cursed tower, and only the sound of coins decides who will take the risk. The world of Redovia breathes folklore. There's dense forests, foggy swamps, icy wastelands, and forgotten ruins full of creatures and treasures. The foundation of the game is a well-thought-out economy. You'll need to build workshops, barracks, and houses for heroes, collect taxes, expand settlements, and gradually turn all this into a full kingdom. Success depends not on clicking speed, but on the ability to combine construction, finances, and subject motivation. A smart plan and generous reward can decide the outcome of even the most dangerous expedition. The game already has a demo version you can try out. The interface still needs work, and you can't build impregnable walls at all, but the game itself feels like a fresh take on the genre and a real gift for those who once loved Majesty but dreamed of something more. RAEV, Kingdom on the Distant Shores. And this is a new strategy where we gradually build our own kingdom in the world of Nightland. There's no usual building grid here, mine. You can freely arrange districts, connect cities with trade roads, and decide what each region will be famous for: crafts, military, or research. As the game progresses, we send expeditions deep into the continent to search for rare resources, old ruins, and new places to expand. Though there's one catch, and as you can see, instead of regular humans, Revines live here, fluffy forest-like inhabitants who have character, profession, and growth path. They start as simple craftsmen or militiamen, and over time can become heroes, capable of going into dungeons or even fighting dragons. Yeah, they're really here. And overall, not everything will be so peaceful here. Roads are sometimes blocked by bandits, and the outskirts are troubled by monsters, so you'll have to fortify cities and gather combat squads. Basically, RAEV looks like a game where you can peacefully build and develop economy, but there's always room for adventures and surprises. A real cozy fantasy sandbox with strategy elements. And this is Dark Moon, strategic survival where the sun becomes the main enemy. We manage a mobile base called Mechaplex, constantly moving across lunar wastelands to avoid deadly solar rays. Every action here requires planning. You need to scan terrain with drones, find safe spots and mine minerals, and also quickly decide which modules to build on the base's roof, from workshops to labs. Creating new robots will help speed up resource gathering and increase movement speed, but any delay can turn into catastrophe. The sun here doesn't sleep after all. Just as important is life inside our base crew. Other survivors can join us, each with their own skills and character, and decisions made affect the team atmosphere. Accept a representative of a hostile country or exile a respected member. That means changing the balance of relationships. You might even provoke some kind of mutiny. The story isn't linear. Events and encounters never fully repeat, and the consequences of our actions will be felt until the very end. There is an ending here, by the way. Basically, the game combines resource management, tactical planning, and complex moral choices, creating an intense adventure where darkness is the only refuge. Recently announced Frostpunk, 1886, a remake of the first part with bonuses. This isn't just improved textures, and they're literally rebuilding the game on Unreal Engine 5. They'll add a new path, objectives, fresh buildings, technologies, events. So decisions impact city and society development even more. The game should come out in 27 because development only started at the beginning of this year. Plus, we'll have more laws, more ways to guide the city, and it seems management will become deeper. You'll need not only to maintain heat and resources, but also deal with new chances and threats that appear through events and finely tuned mechanics. For those who loved the original Frostpunk for moral choices and harsh atmosphere, this part promises to bring that back and make the game more flexible, large-scale, and fresh. I'm waiting to see how they'll rework the scenario, add strategy possibilities, might become that version you can play again and again each time, experiencing different survival paths. Anno 117 will take us to the height of the Roman Empire and offer building dream cities in one of the most peaceful and prosperous periods of antiquity. We become a Roman governor tasked with developing provinces from the sunny plains of Latium to foggy Albion. Economy here will be the heart. You need to maintain balance between citizens' needs and the emperor's insatiable demands, build supply chains and plan building placement, because each district affects neighboring ones. For example, some soap-making shop increases health, but decreases happiness because of the smell. As residents' class grows, their demands will also increase, and well-thought infrastructure becomes the key to stability. Behind the facade of this peaceful city building will hide politics. You'll need to form alliances, participate in intrigues, and of course strengthen the army. Or maybe even risk disobeying the emperor, which will inevitably lead to consequences. Over 50 different buildings, about 10 factions, deep campaign, and of course multiplayer. All this promises dozens of hours of engaging construction and diplomacy. The game should preserve the series' signature coziness but develop it with new mechanics, turning the Roman era into a playground for grand experiments, from economic miracles to political dramas. Down of Defense. We'll take the best from classic tower defense and RTS, creating a hybrid where defending towers is just the beginning. In the story, Empire hordes move through trenches, and you place defensive towers, choose their upgrades, and face increasingly formidable opponents up to bosses. Basically, typical tower defense. But there's one thing. You're not limited to just defense. You can train troops, capture islands, put training camps and production buildings on them, mine rare resources, and eventually even break through to the enemy base yourself. Procedurally generated maps and a rune system will make each round unique. You won't meet two identical runs here. At key moments, you'll have to choose whether to invest in economy, strengthen those towers, or gather a strike army to break through trenches. After each wave, you choose one of 3 random runes, and this changes gameplay style. Some runes make towers stronger, others open new tactical moves for troops. The comeback system with strong buffs will turn defeat into a learning tool. You return to try new combinations and perfect strategies to ideal. Basically, the game isn't about monotonous line holding, but about constant decisions, risk, and the satisfaction that your combination of towers, runes, and troops demolishes enemy fortifications. Falling Frontier. And this is a real-time space strategy that focuses not on endless armies, but on reconnaissance, supply, and real tactics. We start with one orbital base in a new star system, build shipyards, warehouses, and mining stations, and then everything depends on how you set up supply chains, ammunition, fuel, and provisions. Here aren't abstract numbers, but real cargo on specific ships and stations. Each planet, moon, and asteroid field becomes not just background, but part of gameplay. You can hide fleets behind shadows of celestial bodies, mask thermal signatures, mine routes, or set up ambushes in nebulas. Basically, combat encounters here are really special. The physics model even accounts for projectile trajectories that can ricochet or damage individual ship modules. Literally tanks, if their armor isn't penetrated, but only in space. A separate feature of the game is officers. They have their own character traits and fate. They can be rescued, taken prisoner, interrogated, or even used as bait, waiting for a rescue group to arrive. The fleet is assembled in its own constructor, where every detail from weaponry to armor will affect tactics. The project's first step will be a story campaign, designed for about 10 hours, and then the game will expand in early access when it gets there. Europa Universalis 5. a return to that same grand strategy where we'll lead a country through 5 centuries of history, but with a much more alive and deep world. Starting in 1337, we'll open the era before the 100 Years' War, the rise of the Ottoman Empire, and medieval Italy's struggles, and this is just the starting point. We'll be able to choose any of hundreds of nations, from the U1 Empire to free cities of Europe, and decide ourselves how they'll journey from late Middle Ages to the Age of Revolutions. The new military system, inspired by Imperator Rome, will add supply and food accounting. Diplomacy will become multi-layered and economy reworked, apparently based on Victoria 3 ideas. All this will give the opportunity to build trade empires without mandatory war. Fresh mechanics, basically, should make campaigns more alive. We'll manage estates, balance religious conflicts, develop industry, and behind-the-scenes characters with their own characteristics and influence will appear. This feature should remind of Crusader Kings 3, my favorite. Every decision from alliances and dynastic marriages to expansion reform should rewrite alternative history. England, for example, will get a chance to keep French lands, China to start colonial expansion, and the Mongol-Tatar yoke in Russes could drag on for centuries. Basically, the game could unite Paradox's best ideas and raise the bar for the series. Main thing is, it's done well. MENACE. A new tactics game from the Battle Brothers creators, single-player turn-based RPG strategy about restoring order in an isolated star system. We respond to distress signals from different planets, choose where to fly and what to sacrifice, and then lead infantry, tanks, and walkers in really very detailed turn-based combat. Our base here isn't a city on a map like we're used to, but a strike cruiser. It carries us between worlds and provides orbital support and upgrades. Instead of scattered missions, operations with branching stages. A decision at one step will change the objective at the next, align some forces with us and turn others against us. Gradually, we'll map out our route through wars, deals, and shortages of everything from spare parts to people. On the ground, though, the game bets on thoughtful turn-based combat. Cover, suppressing fire, they work for real, not just in words. Armored vehicles crush, but without support they sink, and the map lives through terrain and destructible positions. The enemy here isn't just human. An alien threat stirs on the far edges, and it'll become a problem for everyone living here. Visually looks quite nice, so testing it at launch will be possible overall. Kvartirmejster. If you ever wanted to become a spy, you'll have that opportunity. The game will put us in charge of a secret spy base where every little detail will decide the success of all our operations. We'll develop high-tech devices like jetpacks under cloaks, watches with laser cutters from holographic generators to invisible latex masks. Then we'll equip agents with all this stuff and prepare them for combat. Train shooting, hand-to-hand, hacking, and reaction. By the way, you'll have to hire experienced specialists, monitor their skills, and minimize downtime because any gadget malfunction or gap in training can cost lives and blow the operation. Plus, the game will offer managing people and security. We'll install complex surveillance systems with double control, prevent infiltration attempts, and decide where to invest money. In research, production, or mission logistics, and which employees deserve promotion. Literally the work of some MI6 or CIA, of course, with a touch of sci-fi. Game of Thrones War for Westeros. This isn't just new series and fresh RPGs anymore. Now it's also a future strategy. A classic RTS in Martin's universe that Playside is preparing for 26. We'll take control of great houses and lead them through battles for the Seven Kingdoms, in single-player campaign or everyone for themselves in multiplayer. They promise asymmetry in faction styles, and a roster of signature heroes. Some focus on cavalry and siege machines, others have giants and those dragons, plus active mini-characters will decide key moments in battles. The idea is not just to cut off neighbors' lands, but really rewrite the fate of kingdoms, up to alternative branches of familiar events. From specifics currently known, they'll let you reach the Iron Throne not only by brute force, they'll throw diplomacy on the table and, of course, intrigues, and in multiplayer, an alliance is an unreliable thing by definition. At launch, we'll take command of familiar houses. Well, Starks, Lannisters, Targaryens, and so on. And of course, the Night King is also announced as a separate force, so you'll probably even be able to play as Winter. By release, they promise a full campaign and modes for online. Well, in short, we're waiting for something in the spirit of old school and Westeros settings with heroes, sieges, and a chance to rewrite controversial moments from the series' later seasons. Fragile Existence. And this is a space strategy about escape and survival where all gameplay builds around constant movement and rigid planning. We're leading humanity's remnants through procedurally generated star systems, charting a course through gate rifts, mining fuel, food, and rare materials on planets, building temporary bases and deciding how to distribute the fleet. Keep it as one unified strike force or risk separate groups for reconnaissance and resources. Each new system you end up in isn't just a stop but a full chapter, with searching for useful planets, raids by enemy squadrons, and unpredictable events. At the same time, during planetary landings, the game turns into RTS. We build camps there, protect harvesters, collect blueprints for new technologies, and hold supply lines because ammunition, fuel, and food are real objects that need to be transported and distributed. Space battles will happen in orbit, where maneuvers, stations, and flagships become the key to victory, but sometimes the best solution is an organized retreat to preserve people and resources. It's still partly survival after all. Basically, an unusual mix. Global Conflagration, a modern RTS about Europe where everything went to hell again because of a local private army. And so the reformed European Union and Eastern European movement Carpathia clash on the map. And in the lore, a third force looms as well. The bet here isn't just on tanks and helicopters, but on the feeling of a living theater of war. Quick skirmishes, heroic attack aircraft flybys, and fighting for control of key points. The game will first launch in early access. The campaign will tell about an unexpected military breakthrough in Europe, and then online you can duke it out in 1 versus 1 or 4 versus 4 formats without unnecessary hassle with settings. Though when it comes to various customization, surprisingly there's quite a bit here. Basically, in total it'll turn out to be a lively modern classic. Familiar genre foundation, but with focus on battlefield and constant exchange of strikes, and the scenery is overall pleasant to the eye. Another interesting strategy on the way. Aetere Dominance Wars, and it's very different from usual RTS games. Here we play as an ancient one who step-by-step gains power and can change the world itself, literally. First we develop a settlement, build cities, magic monoliths, send out scouts, and gather armies. Units here aren't just stamped soldiers. They can even be mutated and restructured for different tasks. And immortal avatars like our main commanders grow in power with each victory, and arm themselves with artifacts that we create ourselves from rare stones and even give them names. The world reacts to your every breath. Magic attributes chosen at the start will affect future events and can even completely turn the entire course of history. And so, over time, the Ancient One, that's our hero, unlocks truly divine abilities. We'll be able to bless lands, bring down catastrophes on enemies, and even open gates to other worlds. But such power comes with a price because from such gates, for example, far more dangerous creatures can emerge. All this happens in a global real-time strategy format. We lead armies, capture new territories, manage economy, and watch how the world changes from our decisions. This is cool. Feudums. And here, a real feudal adventure awaits you where the fate of an entire dynasty depends on how we manage lands, army, and alliances. We start with a small holding, develop cities and castles, decide whether to call peasants under the banners or spend gold on a standing army. The game's central mechanic is the vassal system. You can swear allegiance to a stronger lord yourself, or gather your own network of subjects and create an alliance to fight for supreme power. The economy here is subject to seasons. Inhabitants move from sowing to harvest, and the army must return before winter, otherwise hunger and disease await it. But the essence of Feudums isn't just in construction and battles. We'll be able to design a unique coat of arms, for example, and establish our house's traditions, earning titles and special traits that will carry over to new campaigns. Any diplomacy from dynastic marriages to military pacts remains alive and changeable. Broken oaths can flip the entire political map. Battles also happen unusually, with several phases, with thoughtful planning, with rally points and troop movements, and the world evolves thanks to players' own decisions. Basically, the game should unite deep turn-based strategy, role-playing elements, and the ability to flexibly modify rules, turning each campaign into a unique chronicle of power. Sanctuary Shattered Sun. A game that raises the real-time strategy genre to cosmic heights, literally. We're waging war on a giant Dyson sphere that surrounds an entire sun, commanding an army with 1,000 units and colossal war machines. We'll build a base, mine resources, advance through tech levels, and plan massive operations on maps sized 40 by 40 kilometers, without tedious micromanagement. You can just save building templates, create long construction queues, and give orders even to troops that are still coming out of the factory. Strategy here is more important than speed and clicks. The game's main trump cards are devastating superweapons and climate control. We can even freeze an ocean to lead tank columns right across the ice into the heart of an enemy base. Collapse entire sections of the sphere into the blazing sun, turning opponent fortifications into rubble, or release a swarm of drones for total blockade. We'll have 3 factions, each unique. Basically, the game is giant battles with thousands of units and fresh mechanics that should make each battle unpredictable,